first of all, neuroscience is more interested in locating, finding which place is responsible for what function. And so far, most neuroscientists think if a certain function comes from a particular place, then that place is the origin of that function. And that's how they're trying to find the self, what place it is, because they're not taking they're not open to the assumption that the neural network might be simply a network for something else, right? They think it is what generates consciousness, right? So they're trying to find where the consciousness and I think they won't find it that way, but the continuing exploration might make the science questions itself at some point, and that way it could develop maybe into all these networks. What's it? Is it really generating all the experience we have? Or there is something even different than the network that needs the network for the experience, which is my understanding of it. Now, the usual sense of self that people have that is continuing, it is possible to experience it absent. You know, some people actually, even some disordered mental states, sometimes people lose a sense of self. There's no continuous sense of self. And spiritual experiences, of course, there's much of spiritual, what's called spiritual illumination, that the falling away of the sense of self. There's no continuity that is called the self, right? And it's possible to experience all of that, but I think there is a continuity in the sense that is what I called earlier the first person experience. There's always, whatever the experience is, even if we don't see it as a self, it is always, there's a continuity to it, there's a unity to it. And that, I think, we have to go to the what I call individual consciousness. That consciousness, and which is not created by the brain. The way I understand individual consciousness, each one of us is an individual consciousness. And each individual consciousness is a manifestation of a larger ocean of consciousness. So each individual is like a wave, so the waves are not separate from each other. They're all part of the same ocean. But each wave comes through the body and requires the whole mechanism of the body for it to experience the things the way we experience them, in the discriminated, clear, three-dimensional thing. Otherwise, it won't have that kind of experience, you see. And it is that individual consciousness, I think, is what gives the sense of continuity to the fact that there is a unity to experience. We know the experience that happened yesterday, the experience happening today, happening to the same consciousness. From that, people sometimes infer it's a self, but we don't have to call it a self. Or we might not experience it as a self. We might just recognize a continuity of experience. And for me, if we really followed your question, we will find the individual consciousness. Because the ground consciousness, the ocean of consciousness, or the higher self, does not explain the continuity of experience. Does not, because that is beyond time, right, and beyond particulars, you see.